This is Max and Mia Podcasst.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Max and Mia Podcasst. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. Really glad you're here with us today.
Whether this is your first time listening or you've been with us for a while, thank you. Genuinely, it means a lot to know people actually tune in.
It really does. And if you're new, don't worry. We try to keep things clear and natural around here. No complicated stuff, just real conversation.
Actually, Mia, I was thinking about this before we started recording. Do you ever feel like certain topics just follow you around? Like everywhere you go, you end up in the same conversation.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you can't escape them. And then at some point you realize, okay, maybe this is something worth actually talking about properly.
Exactly. Which is kind of how we ended up with today's episode, to be fair.
It really is. It came up so many times in such a short period that we figured, all right, let's just do it.
So, without making you wait any longer, today we're talking about the word one. And before you think, wait. The number? No, something a little different. Something that probably shows up more than you realize.
Right. And once you get it, you start noticing it everywhere. In movies, in conversations, in books. It's the kind of thing that just clicks and then you can't unsee it.
So let's start with the most common use. Picture this. You're at a store with a friend and there are 2 bags on the table. Your friend picks one up and asks what you think. You don't want to keep saying the word bag over and over, so you just say, "That one's nice, but I think the brown one looks better." That's it. One is stepping in to replace the noun so the sentence flows naturally.
And it works with anything, really. Apartments, cars, books. If someone's showing you 2 options and asks which you prefer, you'd say, "I'll take the smaller one," instead of repeating the smaller apartment or the smaller car. It just sounds much more natural that way.
Right. And there's also a slightly different case where you use it even when the noun hasn't been mentioned before, but both people know what you're talking about. Like if you're about to sign something and you look at your friend and say, "Do you have a pen? I need one." No specific pen has come up yet, but the context makes it clear.
Exactly. The listener already understands what one refers to because of the situation. That's what makes it so useful. Okay, so now let's say you're not talking about just one thing, you're talking about several. Same idea, just add an S. Ones. Think about the example we used at the start of the episode. Someone holds up a pair of glasses and says, "I don't like these glasses. I prefer the black ones." Ones is doing the same job, just for something plural.
And you can also use it when you're making a comparison. Like if you're trying to decide between several options, you might say, "These seats are fine, but the ones closer to the window are much better." You're pointing back to something already in the conversation without having to name it again.
Or even more casually. Imagine you went shoe shopping the day before, and now you're telling someone about it. "The shoes I found today were okay, but honestly, the ones I saw yesterday were way more comfortable." You're referring back to those specific shoes from before, and ones handles that perfectly.
It's a small word doing a lot of work, really. All right, now this one is where people tend to pause for a second. Ones with an apostrophe S, it's the possessive form, and it works exactly like his, her, or your, except it's not about a specific person. It's about people in general.
So, when someone says, it's important to follow one's dreams. They're not talking about your dreams or my dreams specifically. They're talking about the concept of dreams in general, for anyone. It's a way of making a statement that applies to everybody.
Another way to think about it, if you read something like, "One should never lose sight of one's goals," that sentence is directed at no one in particular and everyone at the same time. It sounds a bit more elevated, yes, but it's very common in writing, in speeches, in anything that aims to sound thoughtful or formal.
And connected to this, there's also oneself. Same register, just reflexive. Like, it's easy to lose oneself in a routine and forget to look at the bigger picture. Again, no specific person, just a general truth about human experience. And that leads us to the last use, which ties closely to what we just said. One as a formal, impersonal pronoun, meaning it replaces you or a person when you want to speak in a general, distanced way.
In everyday conversation, most people would say something like, "You never know what's going to happen." But in a more formal context, the same idea becomes "one never knows what might happen." Same meaning, very different tone.
Or think about something like, one must be prepared for challenges if one wishes to grow. It sounds objective, almost philosophical, like you're stepping back from personal experience and talking about something universal.
Now worth mentioning, this is much more common in British English than in American English. In the US, using one this way in casual speech can sound a bit stiff or even a little old-fashioned. But in writing, in academic work, or in formal presentations, it fits right in.
So the takeaway here is really about reading the room, or in this case, reading the context. With friends, go with you. In something more formal, one is perfectly at home.
All right, so now that we've covered all 4 uses, it's time to hear them in action. Because understanding the rule is one thing, but catching it in real speech is where it really starts to stick.
We have a short dialogue coming up where you'll find several of these uses woven in naturally. So listen closely and see how many you can catch on your own.
Here we go.
So I ran into Derek the other day and he told me he finally got that job offer. Well, 2 actually. One in Austin and one in Portland. Honestly, I don't know how he's going to choose.
Wait, seriously? I mean, which one is he leaning toward?
The Austin one, I think. Better pay, warmer weather. You know how he feels about the cold.
Yeah, that tracks. Though I kind of get the appeal of Portland too, honestly. There's something about that type of city, you know? The slower pace, more, I don't know, grounded somehow?
Right. But I think at the end of the day, one has to figure out what actually matters beyond just the paycheck. Like, what does the day-to-day actually look like there?
Exactly. And I feel like Derek has been so locked in on the numbers that he hasn't really stopped to think about that. I mean, one's career is important, obviously, but one's peace of mind is a completely different conversation. And those two don't always line up.
That's such a good point. He actually showed me listings for both cities, too. 2 apartments, totally different vibes. One was this sleek downtown place, all glass and open layout, and the other one was smaller, quieter, more of a neighborhood feel to it.
Oh, which one did you like better?
Honestly, the second one, no contest. The downtown ones always look incredible in photos, but then you actually get there and it's just loud, you know? No real sense of community, everyone kind of keeps to themselves.
Yeah, I'm with you on that completely. I went through something similar when I was apartment hunting last year. The ones near the center were way out of my budget anyway, but even setting that aside, I think I still would have gone with something quieter. I need that, like, coming home feeling, you know?
Totally. And I told Derek exactly that. I was like, look, one never really knows how a city is going to feel until you've actually lived there for a few months.
A good salary and nice photos only tell you so much.
Right? It's so easy to get swept up in the excitement of something new and then realize a few months in that it's just not quite what you had in mind. I've been there.
Yeah, and on top of all that, he's dealing with a lot of pressure from his family. They have this very specific picture of what success is supposed to look like, and
it doesn't necessarily match his.
Exactly. I mean, when it really comes down to it, it's one's own sense of what a good life looks like that has to guide those decisions. No one else can answer that for you.
No, they really can't. And honestly, I just hope he ends up picking the one that actually makes him happy, not just the one that looks best to everyone around him.
Me too. He's a genuinely good guy. He just needs to trust his own instincts a little more.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do, honestly.
Fair point.
Okay, so, what did you notice there?
Well, the first thing that stood out to me was how naturally Sloane used one's twice in the same turn. One's career and one's peace of mind back to back. And it didn't feel stiff at all, because the conversation itself had already shifted into something a bit more reflective. The tone kind of earned it.
Exactly. And that's the thing people don't always think about. It's not just about knowing when the grammar allows it. It's about whether the moment in the conversation actually calls for it. Drop that same sentence in a casual argument about what to have for lunch, and it would sound completely out of place.
Right. Context carries a lot of weight. And the other thing I thought was interesting was how Garrett used "one never really knows" almost as a way to soften what he was telling Derek. It wasn't lecturing. It was more like stepping back and making it feel like a universal truth rather than a personal criticism.
That's a really good observation, actually. Using "one" in that way creates a kind of distance that takes the pressure off. You're not pointing at someone and saying, "You don't know what you're doing." You're just acknowledging that nobody really has all the answers. It lands much gentler.
And it still gets the point across.
Completely. All right, that's one covered. And honestly, if even half of what we talked about today sticks with you, that's already a win.
All right, moving on. Now, we know what some of you might be thinking. Numbers? Again? And yes, we've touched on this topic a couple of times before in previous episodes, but here's the thing about language learning, and honestly about learning anything. Seeing something once and then leaving it behind is almost the same as not seeing it at all.
The only way to actually own a topic is to keep coming back to it. Not obsessively, but consistently. Because every time you revisit something, you're not just reviewing it, you're reinforcing it. And that's a completely different process in your brain.
So no, we're not going to apologize for bringing numbers back. What we are going to do is give you a real test. We have a conversation coming up where numbers come up naturally throughout. Different sizes, different contexts. Some of them are pretty straightforward, and some of them are going to make you work a little bit.
The challenge is simple. See how many you can catch and understand on the first listen. No rewinding, no pausing. Just listen the way you would in a real conversation.
Let's see how you do.
Okay, so I've been looking at the numbers for the road trip, and I think we can actually pull it off without breaking the bank.
Wait, really? Because last time I checked, gas alone was going to cost us a fortune. How far is it again?
So the total distance is about 1,340 miles, give or take. I mapped it out this morning.
Okay, that's more than I thought. That's what, 2 days of driving?
Probably. I was thinking we leave on the 23rd, drive the first 700 miles, stop somewhere around Memphis, and then cover the rest the following morning.
That works for me. And what are we looking at for the hotel?
I found one for $89 a night, which honestly isn't bad. It's got decent reviews, 4.2 out of 5, so nothing fancy, but perfectly fine for one night.
Yeah, totally fine. And gas, what's the estimate?
With the current price per gallon, I'm estimating around $215 total for the whole trip. I was thinking we split it down the middle, so roughly $107 each.
That's way more reasonable than I expected. So what's the full budget looking like then?
If we're being realistic, including gas, the hotel, and food on the road, I'd say somewhere between $350 and $400 per person. Maybe a little more if we stop somewhere nice to eat.
Okay, $400 is doable. And the place we're staying when we actually get there, remind me what that one costs.
So the Airbnb is $1,250 for the whole week, split between the four of us. That comes out to $312 each, which I think is honestly a steal for what it is.
Wait, it sleeps 4 comfortably. Last time Marcus and I shared one of those places, it had 3 beds listed, and one of them was basically a couch.
No, this one's legit. 3 proper bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it's like 1,800 square feet. I looked at it pretty carefully this time.
Okay, good. So all in, we're looking at what? Maybe $700 for the whole trip?
Around $710 to $720 if you want to be safe about it. But yeah, that's the ballpark.
Honestly, for a full week, I'll take it. All right, I'm in. Let's do it.
Finally, I've been trying to get this trip off the ground since February.
Better late than never.
All right, so how did that go for you?
Because there were quite a few in there, and some of them were pretty quick, like 1,340 miles and the 1,800 square feet. Those come at you fast if you're not ready for them.
Right. It's one thing to read a number on a page and another to catch it mid-conversation when someone's just saying it naturally and moving on. That gap is exactly what we're trying to close with these kind of exercises.
And honestly, if you caught most of them on the first listen, that's a real win. If you didn't, that's completely fine too. That's literally what this is here for.
And just so you know, if you want to go back and check any specific moment, the timestamps are in the description so you can jump straight to wherever you need without having to sit through the whole thing again.
Also, and we mention this every episode, but it bears repeating, the full transcript is available as a free PDF, also in the description. So if you want to read along, compare what you heard with what was actually said, or just use it to review later, it's right there waiting for you.
All right, let's keep moving.
So for our last topic today, we're looking at something that confuses a lot of learners the first time they come across it, because it looks like a grammatical mistake, but it's actually very deliberate. We're talking about the emphatic use of do and did.
Right. So normally, in a positive sentence in the present or past simple, you don't use do or did. You just say, I like it, or she called me. No auxiliary needed. But sometimes you want to add emphasis. You want to push back on something, or really stress that something is true. And that's where these two come in.
Imagine someone tells you, you never listen to me. And you want to correct that strongly. You wouldn't just say, I listen. That sounds flat. You'd say, I do listen. That do is doing real work there. It's not there for grammar, it's there for force.
And in the past, same idea. If someone says, you didn't even try, and you want to push back, you say, I did try. Not, I tried, which is just a statement. I did try carries weight. It tells the other person they're wrong and you mean it.
You also hear it a lot when someone is conceding a point, but still wants to hold on to something. Like, okay, the trip was exhausting, but I do think it was worth it. That do softens the contrast while still making the point feel sincere.
Or in situations where you're trying to convince someone. Look, I know you're skeptical, but this does work. I've seen it with my own eyes. That does makes the claim feel less like an opinion and more like something you're standing behind completely.
And it's worth pointing out that in speech, when you use the emphatic do or did, you almost always stress it. I do like it. She did call. He does care. That stress is part of what signals to the listener that you're not just stating something, you're insisting on it.
Exactly. Without that stress, it can sound odd or even incorrect. So the emphasis isn't just stylistic. It's part of the meaning itself.
And one last thing before we go to the conversation. This structure also shows up in more formal or literary contexts when you're not necessarily correcting anyone, just being particularly earnest about something. Like, I do believe that kindness matters. It's not a contradiction of anything, it just adds a layer of sincerity to the statement.
All right, so now let's see it in action. Because as always, hearing it used naturally is where it really starts to land.
Listen closely. See if you can catch every time it comes up, and pay attention to how the tone shifts around it.
Here we go.
Fletcher, can I ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me?
Yeah, of course. What's going on?
It's about the presentation last week. Someone told me you didn't think I was ready for it, that you told Marcus I should have handed it off to someone else.
Okay, wait. That is not what I said. I did talk to Marcus, yes, but what I actually said was that you were taking on a lot and I was worried about the timeline, not about your ability.
So you do think I can handle it?
Roz, I have always thought that. You did incredibly well up there, by the way. I don't think people realize how much prep went into that.
I appreciate that. I did put a lot into it, and hearing that secondhand stung more than I expected.
I get that, and I should have come to you directly instead of venting to Marcus about the schedule. That was on me.
It's fine, honestly. I just needed to hear it from you. I do tend to overthink these things when I don't have the full picture.
No, that's fair. And for what it's worth, the client did notice. Sarah mentioned you specifically in the follow-up email. Said you came across as really confident and well prepared.
Wait, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, it came in on Friday. I figured you'd seen it.
I took Friday off, so I must have missed it. That does make me feel better, not gonna lie.
Good, because you earned it. Look, I know we don't always see eye to eye on how to approach things, and I know I can come across as overly cautious sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, okay, often. But I do respect what you bring to the team. I genuinely do. I just express it badly half the time.
Honestly, same. I did jump to conclusions when I heard what Marcus said. I should have come to you straight away instead of sitting on it for 3 days.
3 days? You've been carrying this around since Monday?
I did say I overthink things.
Fair enough. For what it's worth, I do wish you'd said something sooner. Not because I'm bothered, just because there's no reason to sit with something like that when you could have just asked me.
You're right, I know. I think part of me was afraid the answer would confirm what I'd heard, and that would have been harder to deal with.
I get that, but for the record, it wouldn't have. You did the work. The client noticed, and the team noticed. That doesn't just go away because of a badly worded comment to Marcus.
Thanks, Fletcher. That does actually mean a lot coming from you.
Anytime. Now, can we please go get coffee? I've been up since 5, and I do need caffeine to function like a normal human being.
Yeah, let's go.
That one was good. And what I liked about it is that the emphatic do and did showed up in so many different emotional registers. It wasn't just one type of emphasis throughout the whole thing.
Right. There's a difference between Fletcher saying, "I did talk to Marcus to correct the record," and then later saying, "I do respect what you bring to the team," which is more about sincerity than contradiction. Same structure, completely different function depending on the moment.
And the one that I thought was easy to miss was Rosalind's, "I did say I overthink things." She's not contradicting anyone there. She's almost turning it back on herself, owning something. That's a more subtle use, but it's very natural in real conversation.
Exactly. And that's the point. Once you start using it, it doesn't feel like a grammar rule anymore. It feels like a tool, one you reach for when a regular statement just isn't enough.
All right, and that brings us to the end of today's episode. We covered quite a bit, from the different uses of one, to numbers in context, to the emphatic do and did. Hopefully at least one of those things landed in a way that sticks.
And if it did, if you walked away from this episode feeling like something clicked, that's exactly what we're here for. So if you're enjoying the podcast and you want to support what we do, leaving a like and hitting subscribe genuinely goes a long way. It helps more people find us. And it tells us that what we're putting out there is actually worth your time.
We don't take that lightly. Every person who tunes in consistently is someone who made a real decision to invest in their English. And that's not nothing. Learning a language is a long road, and there are no shortcuts, but there is momentum. And the fact that you're here, doing this, is momentum.
So stay consistent. Come back next episode. Bring a friend if you know someone who's on the same journey. The progress adds up, even on the days it doesn't feel like it.
We'll see you in the next one.
Take care, everyone.